you guys on here. Obviously, I expected to have a few defections during Christmas Eve. We also have next week is scheduled on New Year's Eve, so I may be alone. We'll find out. But anyways, we've managed to do just scheduling Wednesday. It's just what it is, but it just seems to fit with what's going on. So let's see what's going on. It's Christmas Eve. This is, I think, our 18th Magic Secret show. Super duper. We may or may not be joined by David. We may or may not be joined by Smitty. Not really sure. Didn't really check in. Might have been just sort of preposterous, of course, for the thought of jumping in. So we shall see. Okay, Michael Freeman posted this deck yesterday and then proceeded to just go completely ham with it. I guess he flew through. Part of the record will certainly be whatever, inflated or whatever by competition. So presumably he went from platinum through diamond and then got into mythic. So he said, when did he say the record was 17 or 2 or something like that he went with it. So certainly a terrific deck. I'll just begin by highlighting it. It would just be sort of silly not to. And then that way, when Michael watches the replay, he's getting ready for the Pro Tour in Atlanta. So that way, when he watches the replay, he can at least get my thoughts on it, and any of our thoughts on it. And of course, I'll talk about good old what is it? Atlantis Shuffle is really near and dear to my heart. I'm trying to integrate and figure out how to best integrate the 1/2 guys, the funguses, Insidious Fungus, that can kill artifacts or enchantments, and they can also draw a card, I guess. Maybe get a land into play. Deck's pretty land type. But anyways, we'll discuss that and more. We'll get into that, and then I want, especially Theory, to have time to talk about anything he wants to talk about with regards to that deck. The whole Isengard Shuffle build. He's been so intrinsic to success with it, and so we'll see what thoughts he has for it. We've got in about 20 days, we'll have 25 days, we'll have a new set, Lorwyn. It'll have the green-white shockland in it, so that'll have some sort of implications. But right now, we're really taking advantage of these blue-green and red-white decks. They have the full set of the full complement of lands, even though they're oppositional. They're getting normally in Magic, the idea is that like red-green will have better lands than red-white, for example. But in this case, just because of how rotations work and just whatever how they did it, you got Inspiring Vantage, and then we also have the blue-green fast land, whatever it's called. I somehow don't know. So we have the kind of more full complement, gives us a lot more options, and not getting mana screwed and so forth. And so let me go through this deck. Well, actually, first, before I jump into this deck, Merry Christmas, guys. What's going on?
Good, Mike. How are you?
Doing good.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, boys.
Merry Christmas, obviously.
Yeah, can you believe it? 18 podcasts. It's quite great. I really wanted this nice kind of small environment. Somehow we get dozens of views every week on YouTube, which I think is great. It's great to have. For a while, I couldn't quite figure out how to do the comments. I thought it should be kid friendly, but if you say kid friendly, then they won't allow comments. So I guess we're not kid friendly for now. That way we can have comments, I suppose. It's probably a little bit more valuable, but although probably nothing wrong with our showing kids, I suppose. But anyways, so 18th episode. We've had a lot of success. Actually, to take a little bit of a reflection for a moment. Theory, you came out of sort of Magic retirement, and how have you done since we started the podcast and everything?
I beat my personal record, I think at least twice, in the top 10, twice, and
twice in the top 10 in two totally separate times. You've been in the top 10 in the whole world in Magic.
Yeah.
In the last since we started this podcast, 18
Right.
weeks.
Exactly.
Like 2 separate months, is that correct?
Yeah, 2 separate months, back to back.
Wow.
I think, based on the decks we've featured and built.
Yeah, the same
Yeah.
archetype, which of course we'll
Right.
talk about. I'll pull up Atlantis Shuffle, which is the latest kind of tuned version that we have. But there's, we have, if you look back through the podcast, there's tons of iterations of it. They're really sweet.
Yeah.
Different ways of doing things. But that's that's really shocking. And then obviously you've also been working with the guys, working on SEO projects. It seems like business is going good for you and John, for sure. You guys, everything seems to be going great.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, probably better than ever, actually. And the show has actually been helping, which is shocking. Yeah, you wouldn't think necessarily a Magic video game show would help with business, but it actually does in many, many ways, in my opinion, including with the networking too, and concepts that's kind of like gaming concepts, but there are business concepts at the same time.
And more.
Sure if it's just me, but my screen's frozen on my end here.
Yeah, I lost him too.
Okay. Right. Yeah, well, I guess he's gonna come back on, but in the meantime, I can say that John and I have been using gaming concept more and more to talk about business, and it's been pretty good. See if my kids needing help coming back here for some reason. Smitty says he's muted. I'm not a. Can I promote him?
I don't see him on the list so far.
Right, me neither, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. It says 5. I only see 4 in the list here. Let me see.
Yeah, I believe that's because the organizer/panelist rules are
Right.
a little bit, yeah.
All right. I'm guessing there was a connection issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Have you gotten a chance to play with the new deck theory, the new Merfolk blend?
Not yet, man, but it looks pretty good. Is that the one with the Merfolk that draws cards like
Yeah.
crazy? Seems
Yeah.
that card.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn. Talk to Mike about it a little bit. Better than the owl. Like there's a new owl that came out.
Yeah.
The set actually.
I've heard
I think
about
that
it.
The
right.
1/3?
Like it. Is it 1/3? The flash. Yeah, you
I believe so, yeah.
X casting cost, and the more you pay, the more you draw cards.
Mhm.
Pretty good. I think it might even be played in modern, maybe even legacy, but in the other, which is insane, right? That when a card gets played in the older formats, sometimes it's
Yeah. It's good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Merfolk, man, you draw more cards with the Merfolk, and you can duplicate it with DrewNet. I haven't played it yet though, but I can't wait to try. I'm pretty sure we're kind of the only ones, I think, playing with it. I haven't seen. Have you guys seen anybody playing with it?
That's a good point. Yeah, I've never seen it before actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Right. What are the cards?
Back,
I guess we're
back. I lost my internet
Nice.
there for a second. Sorry, guys.
Mhm.
Also, I was able to make Smitty live. So, Merry Christmas, Smitty.
Hey.
Great to have you on. We're still blessed with contractor today. I'm gonna turn my webcam off. It asked me to. So Smitty, let me see. Actually, make him a panelist. If I can get him in. Thinks that we've got Smitty on. So great. So what did I, guys? What did I miss?
We talking about the deck Atlantis Shuffle bit.
Yeah.
About the Merfolk
Yeah.
that draws a bunch of cards.
I was commenting on that. What else did we talk about? We talk about business concepts mixed with Magic. John and I have been using video games a little bit more to talk about business concepts, which is pretty cool. And then we commented on the Merfolk, that draw cards. That's seems insane. I haven't tried it yet, but I can't wait.
Yeah, I think there were screenshots where Mike and Smitty drew like 8 cards or 10 or 15.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That works for
You
sure. Time.
certainly have certainly have the upward potential with it. Okay, great. So Smitty is on. I'm sure he can hear us. He may not be able to speak, but then maybe on his end at this point, I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to pull up Magic here for a second, and then all right. So first, I had this deck for Michael to talk about pretty quickly. I'll just fan through this. We've got Hired Claw. We've got Stadium Headliner. So, these are the kind of fast creatures that he has. Otherwise, he can cast Burn on the first turn. And then those are his, his first turn option. Little light. This won a 16-person tournament. So I don't know how it's going to do on Mythic. We'll have to just see. But it may need to be sped up a little bit because it has a lot of 3-drops. It has like 7, 8, 9 3-drops. One is this Windcrag Siege. Mainly, I assume that they're using Mardu. I don't know though. Maybe Driscoll is great. You make a guy every turn. If you don't have triggered effects, obviously you're way better off creating that. That's pretty powerful. Enduring Innocence got a couple of those real powerful cards certainly.
Are we showing the screen? I'm not seeing my screen right now. I'm not
you're
seeing
not seeing my screen. Oh, so like, great. Thanks. Okay, so I have this pulled up. He's got the Hired Claw, got the Stadium Headliner as 1-drops, 3-drops, a lot of 3-drops. The Evangelist here, which we've liked, has been a good card Enduring Innocence. This one's Windcrag Siege. You can choose either to have your attacking creatures triggered ability trigger a second time, or Jeskai, which makes another dude. My big concern with this deck would be, to me it seems a little slower if it gets really going. After that, it has the Voice of Victory. It's a super duper card. I had this in a deck I posted this week. Firebender Centric and Ascension can be great. Arbella, we played with her a bunch in Shawshank. Terrific card. Of course, everybody knows Shelter by a Ghost. So all the cards proven. Has some nice man lands. Has the 1 Bivouac. The Encampment and the Abandoned Air Temple can all be game winners. So kind of a nice attack here, balanced sideboard. I really wonder about the speed of this deck. I don't know what other 1-drops could really fit it. I should have more in the 1-drop department. Nothing kind of glibly comes to the top of my head. Maybe the Survivor, I suppose, but he might be like a little flat in this deck. So, we'll just see. Michael may love this deck and may
The Survivor is exactly what needs to come in this deck.
What's the card?
This Veteran Survivor is exactly what needs to come into this deck.
Maybe just because it gives you the natural graveyard disruption. I noticed that they have 4. Let me pull up Veteran Survivor. Because this deck probably, I think, is going to need to be sped up for Mythic. Again, he blew through Plat and Diamond. But I usually find that you're going to usually have to tune up after that. So we'll have to see. But he did really great with that. So this is Veteran Survivor. It takes out a few cards in the graveyard if you can manage to attack with it and survive, which this deck can in many cases. I mean, he should be able to clear the way somewhat with his Burst Lightning, and he's got some Shelter by Ghosts. So some amount of stuff to help him get through. He doesn't have a lot of times when people are playing with Veteran Survivor, they're playing with the First Strike enchantment that the armor that gives him First Strike and makes him bigger based on how many enchantments you have. And so then he's a lot easier to get through at that point. This deck doesn't have necessarily as many ways. It doesn't even have, it could have Glorious Anthem, and Michael could try that. But again, I'm very suspicious about, kind of a bloated 3-drop spot. It's just hard to say. Maybe somehow this has a say in this, but Standard is really fast right now. So we'll have to see. So that's, I'll just say that. Yes, so there's some quick thoughts. I don't mean to sound skeptical. I myself have been looking for a Boros deck, but haven't really had success. I posted a potential deck in the group, and didn't really have that much success with it myself, so I didn't get back to talk about it that much. This is where I'm at right now with Atlantis Shuffle. I don't exactly know what to do. I went down to 2 Drunith. I really want, it's just hard to know the balance for the metagame, right? Like that's a little bit like preparing a recipe and so forth. When you're molding the deck, and certainly molding the deck in the sideboard. I think that these Insidious Fungus are pretty disruptive in the environment. I've been thinking about it in the way that if you look at like a lot of the banned decks and things that have gone awry, a fair amount of it has to do with enchantments and artifacts. There's Kiki Jiki, Mirror Breaker, relatively recently. That's too far back for some of you guys. We have a lot of new people on the show, which is great. But Kiki Jiki, Mirror Breaker,
Yeah.
or whatever it was called, was a red and 2 colorless and was an enchantment that was just stupendously powerful. They eventually had to ban it. And there's just been a number of enchantments and artifacts, and what they haven't been willing to do, and probably what they need to do to adjust things, is just go ahead and say screw it and make a 2 casting cost creature that just comes in and kills an artifact. Elf, maybe an elf that's green and just a 1/1, or I don't know, but some kind of thing that is a presence on the board. Maybe a 2/1 would be just kind of ridiculous, but I don't know. Like just some way if they just kind of keep speeding up the enchantments and artifacts. Now we're seeing it again with the artist talent and the monument to endurance. Obviously, part of the things are just going to happen with some more. There'll be a little bit more play testing surrounding having 3 years worth of content in standard, and so that'll smooth things as well. But anyways, for right now, I think that it's just in cities, it's one of the weirdest things. But then it's because as I see it with just 4, I mean, like I feel naked. I feel like for this deck somehow 2.5 Drunith would be almost perfect. Certainly don't want him. You know what it is? It's like if I'm going second, I'd love to have 2. If I'm going first, I'd love to have 3. And I'd certainly see having 1 in the sideboard where you just kind of pick 1. I'm down to 2 scouts. I'm not saying that's right. It's just that I want these guys in so bad, and I'm so jealous of my disruption and my top end cards. Like
Mike, we
Go
can't see
ahead.
the screen, right?
Oh,
We
you
can't.
guys can't see my screen? Smitty, are you the only one, or can everybody now?
We see the screen, but it's on Michael's deck. Michael F. Red.
Oh, okay.
Possibly
So let me
paused,
and restart it. Did that work?
Not
Nothing
yet.
changed.
While
Okay.
you're doing that, I want to have a couple comments. I am
Yeah,
100%
please, Smith.
on board with the. I've been playing 2 or 3 Druniths in the blue-green deck, blue-green-red deck, both of which I've played a lot. It is a
When
quandary.
you say blue, green,
I've
red,
gone back
which
between 2 and 3 a number of times, and I don't know what the answer really is. What I do think, though, is that Lessons is kind of toast. I've been playing a lot of this deck that Dan and I came up with, which is a blend of Lessons and Reanimator. And the cool part was I was crushing with Cavero, and then all the hate came back because people had kind of taken out the hate because they wanted to go after Lessons, but then they realized that the hate is pretty good against Lessons too.
Right.
So even a flanker is good against Lessons, but you're seeing so many. The main deck Rest in Peace is back, and it's a heck of a biscuit to deal with. Like Cavero can deal with it.
I run into it when I'm playing Atlantis Shuffle. I see people play it. They just plop down Rest in Peace. I mean, for this deck, it doesn't matter, but yeah, I mean, for obviously it's devastating for a double graveyard mechanic deck where you have both the what's it called, Superior Spider-Man.
There we are. We can see
Flash will. I can pull it up. I'm just for now. I'm a little bit suspicious that we'll have all the time in the world. So I'm not exactly wanting to jump over and pull up that deck just right now. Just with me having internet problems and so forth. But basically, it's a superior. It's pretty cool. It's we might even depending on how Smitty feels like it, we might pull it up next week. But it's basically some of the best lesson cards that you know and love, and then kind of the graveyard deck where you're going to play what's he called, Superior Spider-Man or Carvo, where he's a blue black 2 colorless for a 4/4 creature, and he's going to pull one of those guys in the graveyard. Their abilities make it have that come into play ability be really bad, and you win the game usually on that turn or the next turn and so forth. But go ahead, Smitty, what your comments were about Mr. Blue.
Yeah. I think it's a quandary for sure. I tend to go 3
because it was like what it was in the old format, and in theory, this may make sense to you. You may kind of feel what I'm saying. I don't know how much you got into test recently, because I know it's been a real whirlwind for you work-wise, and you've had a few people visiting you. Michael Spears visited you from our show as well, but from our group. But
you're also seeing a
rebirth
of
then it made it just like this card that you really want to have in your deck. So he kind of forces his way in the deck, and you really want him, and you want to accommodate him, and you should, But then, and he does play great with Drunith / Jackal / Mr. Blue, but there's only so many cards. Is that kind of the Smitty? Because like before, I think we would always have 4 Drunith, and I think that was right.
Correct. Yeah, before
it works great with Cub.
Now we're seeing
it is kind of confusing, but it's still, I think, the right science to squeeze down to 2 or 3 of them main deck. Is that what you're thinking? Because that's what I'm thinking.
Correct. I'm playing 2 or 3 in both of my blue-green.
Yeah, and I think that we have a good science on
blue-green decks right now.
You play, either have 2 or 3 main deck. If you have 2 in the main deck, have a 3rd in your sideboard. If you're going second, play 2. If you're going first, play 3. Does that sound about right to you, Smitty?
Agreed. An interesting thing that's come up recently, though, is the reemergence of the Baloth, which I think is correct. I'm seeing a lot more people.
Reemergence of what?
The Frenzied Baloth, the 2 mana, can't be countered.
Okay, yeah. The 3/2.
He's coming back into the field, and I like it. I think it's good.
Yeah, I don't find that I lose to it like necessarily because this card 3 steps ahead a lot of times against that type of deck. You're better off copying either possibly a Cub because you need to break through on mana, but more often you're copying a Mr. Green, or possibly copying a Tiebinder to stop it come into playability. So it's not that bad. They also usually have some spells, so it's not too bad. And then of course the repulsive mutation. Like I'm not too worried about that. Just for this deck's sake. But anyways, go ahead, Smitty. What you're saying about the Baloth and everything.
What I was saying about the Baloth is the control matchup is getting better when you have the Baloth.
Okay, so you might even want Baloth in your sideboard. I'll tell you, I really feel like I'm a real nightmare for blue white as it stands. Like I feel like they're like a 60-40 dog against me. I mean, yeah, for sure. If we just sit there trading card economy, somehow usually get around things and get me. And that's the 40% I lose. But then I get all the wins that you get when you just get a fast draw and they're not ready for it. Fast Drunith or whatever. Fast Cub, whatever. Where you just come out of nowhere and maybe you have counterspell backup right away or whatever. I get those wins, and then
are you seeing a lot of authority of councils and like full on, like not blue white, but like blue white, red, black, like those are the
Oh, authority consoles. That's another reason, by the way, to play only 2 or 3 Druidness, because you really don't want to see authority of consoles with Druidness. It's fine, but it's so disruptive to your pollinator that a lot of times you don't get that pop on turn 3 because you cast the Druidness turn 2 and it'll come into play tapped, and so you can't use the pollinator. So that's another good reason just to play 2, or even at that point, if I see authority consoles on sideboarding, easily I could see going down to 1 Druidness and say, hey, fine, because it's just going to be awkward. Anyways, go ahead, Smitty.
it makes their split ups just absolute wrecking balls. And it's so annoying that like authority councils just like
I know what it was, because this morning when I was thinking deeper into what we were talking about last week. So last week we talked about David's concept of going all in on getting time on your side. And the thing is, before, like when Theory was playing it a lot more, like counters and stuff like that, reaction was not really a thing. It was just an arms race, and we were just racing guys onto the battlefield, and it was great. I mean, again, Theory made a mind-boggling two back-to-back months top 10.
Yeah.
But Theory, does that sound right to you, that it was like this arms race where it was about getting the most threats down, and then of course you'd have some amount of counters, but that was more of a ripple or a disruption type binder?
Well, 100%, I would agree with that. And then we had a couple of counters fast, make sure we didn't die.
So much crazy stuff that you just want to freaking stop it.
Sure.
Starting with the would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. And it was a shock effect too, because nobody were expecting that yet, right? When I did it, like the cards kind of new and stuff like that. So just slamming that as quick and hard as possible would basically win games a lot of the time.
Right, you were dominating the board. You were playing again. It was 2 different months, so it was basically 2 different like shapes of decks. And again, you can go back and watch the Magic Secret shows and see those. But the point is that Theory, that meta game, and this is, you want to learn to feel this stuff. I want one of the reasons why I want to have not just Magic. Magic is a great game for this. It's a great game for the concept I'm about to say. But I also want to have these other games. I'll tell you why. It's because I want you to develop the skill, the following skill. It's not a known skill. It's not like you can't get it from Harvard or nobody else knows. People just don't generally know it as well. But David has a concept that, like, as a child, he explained it with his son, that he didn't necessarily have control all the time of himself. And it wasn't, his intentions weren't really being expressed. He could want to do one thing and it could come out some totally different, crazy other way. And it was worthwhile to note that. If you didn't notice that, you really would misunderstand him a lot more, especially his son. His son was a little bit more quirky. But lots of great things, but just quirky in various ways, culturally speaking. So that concept, it's a valuable concept for gaming. It's also a very valuable concept for business and for life. And not just like, more and more as this world continues, as things are going, it's becoming more and more true. So with Magic, one of the epiphany moments, one of the big epiphany moments is when Alliances came out. And I just felt so dismayed. I was like, oh my gosh, and it's crazy because it was right before our biggest run with David and I. We were about to really shock the world, the Magic world. And I was really feeling dismayed. So kind of fascinating. Right before we went on this utterly dominant streak, right before Mirage and then Visions got released, and that's when we just dominated the game. I said to David, I was like, oh, we just figured things out. We're at the top of the game right now. It was at night after Pro Tour Los Angeles, and we were winning all these ante games, and it was so obvious. Like, we were just dominating so much, trying to get David still in the Pro Tour, but whatever. But anyways, then Alliances came out, and I was so dismayed. And he was like, Mike, our skill isn't that we've learned Magic to date. Our skill is that we know how to learn things anew. Like, we know how to learn new things in a disciplined way, in a skillful way. And that's kind of what I'm talking about today, is this idea of being able, because internet marketing has become much more like this. It's much more about, especially now that I'm telling you, it's hit the main market now, where business owners really understand that their future is going to be tied to how they integrate with the internet, both in terms of marketing and in terms of how their overall businesses run. If you're, I spent a ton of time with contractors just because we've been redoing our house for a few months here, and so I talk to them about what's going on for them. I have clients for years that are contractors, of course, but they've been particularly up close, and I see what's going on for them. It's not just the marketing; it's also what's going on for their jobs. We tried to hire Mr. Sparky to come out and put some can lights in one of our rooms, and it was a nice guy, well-meaning, but I'll tell you what, he showed up an entire day late, and I don't think it was the guy's fault. I don't think the guy was like, I'm coming over, and he got kidnapped by aliens for a day, or just went to the bar and got drunk for a day. I don't think that happened at all. I think that they don't have control of their business, right? They're a big dirty dinosaur, Mr. Sparky and whatever conglomerate they're a part of, one of these dirty dinosaurs that we talk about, because there can be little dirty dinosaurs that you see all the time in the internet marketing world, tons of them. These little, we have a guy who's a AC repair guy, and we went out to a job on a Holiday Inn, and I was shooting them for a terrific website that we were doing for them, and the manager of the Holiday Inn had called somebody else from a Google business listing and paid them $10,000 up front for the job, and then got ghosted completely by the person. So they just lost $10,000. And fortunately, my company came in and saved, and did save the day. Fascinating. That's like a little dirty dinosaur, but there can be big dirty dinosaurs, both in the internet marketing world and in the like in the contracting world and so forth. And these are customers and clients and end customers are getting more and more used to this. They're more and more attuned to it. They're more sophisticated, and that sophistication is something I'm drawing your attention to as I'm trying to like boost your skills. I'm trying to think to myself, man, we had this great 2024 or 2025 here. How do I, best send our team into 2026? What do I draw our attention to? What are the things that we've done well that I can say, man, we did a great job? Oftentimes this week or so can be very reflective for people, and so they can set a lot of norms and expectations and stuff for the next year. So it can be very, very important to have ripple effects. And so what do I want to draw your attention to? And so this this attentiveness, right, to the sophistication of the market, and how the market since COVID and more and more things that have happened just since then. There were big events. The election was a big event, and a lot of it played out on the internet and on podcasts and stuff like that. So that brings attention, it brings focus, and there already was. And part of the reason why it did play out so much is that podcasts have just become much more people's life. People will just sit around on Twitch. A guy will just sit around on Twitch and talk about the news and his slants on it, and have 40,000 people watch him. I'm not saying that that's normal, but it does happen. And for no other discernible reason that I can see that that's happening right now. And that's just a difference in our marketplace. I note those differences, and I say, something shifting in sophistication. What does this mean? And I've seen these shifts in sophistication because I've been watching this for many, many years. I've been successful throughout this time with digital marketing, with clients, with SEO, with my own ventures and so forth. And I'm aware of this stuff, and I'm particularly aware of it right now. And so I'm trying to guide you guys with what I think is of paramount importance, the most important, the things that'll help you the very most. I'm also just aware that these particular early shows at some point be probably looked over by a lot of people that'll say, hey, maybe I learned something from this. So that's great. So so with this shift in market sophistication, the market is more likely to go on TikTok, let's say, and just know what the answer is and want somebody to come in and do that answer for them. And as a contractor, if you're vibing with that, you're much better off. Right? if you're taking care of those people and stockpiling not just testimonials and reviews from them, but getting pictures, of them happy with it and so on. And we'll get more into it as things progress with OMG, like where things are going. OMG 2026, I really feel like it's going to be a spectacular. But I want you to understand the particular shift in the market. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when we started OMG, in 2012, it was exciting for us to just even hold a webinar ourselves. And now that wasn't new for us. We did our first like teleseminar in 2004, I think it was. And David was doing presentations even before that in front of small groups and under pretty intense pressure for his speed learning course. So somehow we were decently exposed to that, and we played Magic and so on. So we presented to groups and so on. But when we started OMG in 2012, it was pretty new to people. Webinars were new. Certainly talking about stuff like backlinks and some of the sophisticated features of internet marketing, right? That people now know about. They know about Facebook ads, and they know about targeting, and they know about cookies, and there's just all kinds of things that they know about. AI, right, is a whole sophistication. What does AI do? Well, anybody who was in the early days of OMG theory, there were still vestiges when you joined. There were still vestiges of us talking about spin text. Did you ever see any of that stuff? Where we, they were, right? Do you remember?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, totally. That was
how different is that than AI. It's not like for example, knowing about spin text, has that helped you massively with AI or not?
Probably. I mean, I kind of did an article tool basically to a little bit get out of spin text a little bit, like the spun content, stuff like that. I use that like crazy. I mean, like for half a decade, basically when AI came out, that completely changed the game. Like we could just use better quality content now because AI is pretty powerful.
So you see that shift. Like we were using a kind of a primitive version of that AI, and now you're using something that's much more advanced, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But you're already used to something that was like much more primitive from those early days. Is that right?
Sure. Yes, totally.
Which
Using
is cool.
it myself,
you're getting to see that and getting to mature that skill, and in doing that, but you're also seeing the market is now awake to that. I mean, can you imagine in 2012? We didn't even talk about spin text very much really on a webinar or something like that. Market OMG was more like once you got involved and started going through some of the deeper training and stuff like that, then you'd learn about it because it had its niche in SEO at the time. Whereas today, it's completely unusual for a business owner to be decently savvy about some of the things that AI can do for them. That's true, right? Right, Theory?
Yeah, 100%.
So that's a remarkable shift, right? From using somebody in 2012, 13, 14, who was like a bright up and coming internet marketer who encountered OMG and found this whole world, right? You were at the cutting edge, and still are, of course, but at the time, you were the cutting edge of sophistication for what was going on with say the early technologies of say AI, right? Okay.
Right.
So we're exposing you to that all the way back then. Now your average business owner has that same sophistication, and that's remarkable. And you want to take note of it for your marketing funnels, for your fulfillment, for doing a good job. If you want to see, hey, where's the market? Does that make sense? Lawrence, as I'm talking about this, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's shifting the focus quite a bit. Basically, the questions that I'm asking now are different than they were going into things. And I'm seeing the parallel with Magic as well, where it's like it's more about the metagame than I would have thought previously without this conversation.
Okay, great. So it did make a decent amount of sense. I got temporarily interrupted, but then I heard the last part where you said it did make sense to you, and you were associating with the metagame.
Yeah.
So great. Like there's something to me like Lawrence is a particular person where I can check in with him, and if Lawrence isn't lost, there's a good chance that that's a good sign. So and I have different checks. I have just different things I look over or kind of attend to. So so anyways, with the market shifting as much as it has, right, through COVID and through people finding out about AI and just other just life events that are going on, the expansion of social media, really TikTok has done well, and so on. There's just different things that have had an impact on the state of market sophistication. And so because of that, you have a much more aware business owner, and you also have a much more aware customer to that business owner. So that business owner also has a much higher expectation from his end clients, from his end customers, right? So he is going to have to deliver a better product, not just a better product in terms of his marketing product has to be better. It does have to be better, but he has to deliver, he or she, their team has to deliver a better experience to the client and let the client know, here's what the picture is. Make sure that that picture is in place before the client buys. Make sure that that's the picture that the client wants, and then make sure that the whole experience from start to finish matches that. Yes, that's the picture I thought it was going to be, and that's what it's become. And the path has been natural. I haven't been jerked around or unfairly treated in this whole time. And when you do that, that is what people expect right now. And when you do that, people are very pleased because they're not getting that outside of you. Okay, so if you do what I just said, where you're presenting a very clear, accurate picture, right? This is what it's going to be like to work with my AC repair business, right? We're putting in a new carrier for you. We're putting in a new, ream for you, a new, rood for you, right? A new air conditioning unit for you. This is why we've chosen rood over carrier for your circumstance. They're both going to perform at a really good level. You're going to really enjoy the experience, but we're going to save you a number of expenses both now and in the future, because carriers is going to cost you a little bit more, right? And so we're going to come in, we're going to replace this thing for you. We're going to come in at such and such time. Maybe we'll call you the day before. You're going to hear it's going to be a 3-hour window, before we come in, that you'll know. The driver will text you, when he gets there, ABC that we might want to have. If you've got pets, please put them away, whatever, just whatever you want to say, and just get that in. And that everything that you get stated up front can be delivered again and again, and reminders can be delivered in a nice, pleasing, automated way. We can make scheduling software for clients. We do it. We make appointment setting software that does a great job of setting these appointments, because so much of their lives are about setting appointments and doing a great job with setting that appointment, for example, and having that very much meshed with what the marketing experience was, right? Who cares what your appointment setting software does if it's disconnected from the experience that you promised during the marketing, right? So these are all things that the modern business is just going to thrive. Like the modern business is just going to beat the pants off of these big lumbering dirty dinosaurs and the little fast dirty dinosaurs, because those businesses, they don't have control, right? They don't have control. Like, it's never hard to compete with a dirty dinosaur because they don't have control over either their marketing apparatus or their fulfillment apparatus. They're both out of whack and disjointed, and they just lumber around, and they kind of go somewhere, but it's typically pretty destructive and pretty wasteful. There's just a lot of waste involved. And it's not that they're charging too much and then pocketing the profits. That's not happening either. It's just a waste. It's just bad. So we don't want to do that. We're just going to do it right. And the profits shall be great, and the success and happiness will be great, and people will really feel the shockwave. They'll feel the real, as somebody once said about OMG. So like I'm saying, I want you to start feeling these balances and these feelings of both market sophistication, and also I want you to start experiencing the idea of gaining control, right? Understanding, hey, when I'm starting a new game, I don't have control over that game. I don't have control over my body. And this happens in Magic all the time. A new set will come out and something will come out that seems great for our deck, but still throws the balance into a weird, different place, like Badger Mole Cub, Mr. Junior, Mr. Green Junior. He throws the balance. So that same environment, even though he would help Theory, if all Theory wanted to do was race guys down as fast as he could, then Badger Mole Cub would help him do that. The problem is that Badger Mole Cub is helping everybody else do that too, right? That's why I've come to these counters that punish people, right? Counters that don't just, right, get the job done, disruptors, these 12 disruptors that don't just get the job done, but they also punish people. And then, of course, Mindstream Merfolk, as the guys were talking about, will really punish people. Draw 7 cards. I can draw 12 cards. I've drawn 12 cards. I've drawn 15 cards. I've drawn 20 cards. I've done that. I've done that with mana to spare to counter something. Because you can just because again with the Mockingbird you can just copy and copy and copy your cub, and so you can just have some. Okay, and by the way, now with this revelation of bringing Druid down to 2, maybe I taper Mockingbirds down to 3. Mockingbird's a big ally of Druid because it gives you more 1s or 2s. So we'll see. We'll see, and we'll see how things taper and how things go. But we might like Mockingbird all the more because we might really like the option of Mockingbirding Fungus. Like I'm looking forward to running into a synthesizer deck now that I'm running 4 main deck. And mysteriously, now that I'm running 4 main deck Funguses, all the synthesizer decks I was running into before this, nowhere to be found.
Sure.
But of course, if you have like a Fungus and 2 untapped mana against a synthesizer deck, it really throws a wrench in their plans because they can't get you with that Star Chamber. Let me turn things fully over to Bryn for the last 10 minutes of the episode to let him talk about his experience with Super Fantasy Kingdom, and he's been doing really, really well with it. He actually went back to some previous episodes. He's gained much more control, right? If I were to go out there and try to play Super Fantasy Kingdom, I would be clumsy. I'd be confused, right? I'd be like, oh, where's the monk? What do I do? Where are the buttons? Where's this, that? He's gained control over it. He's now in the top 100 or so in the world in that game. And a lot of people have downloaded that game and played that game. Bryn, I'm going to make you presenter. We'll see if that does anything that we want to have happen.
Let me see. Yep. That's
Great. I'm going to end the show crisply at 3, just based on still having contractors and so forth. Oh, beautiful. The shift is mineral objects. Yeah, I remember that one. Okay,
Let's
great.
see.
So, Bryn, take it away.
Which screen are you guys seeing?
We're seeing your Super Fantasy Kingdom.
I see the game.
Oh, nice.
And by the way,
Sweet.
congratulations, Bryn, into the top 100 in the world, and like a lot of people have downloaded this game.
Yeah.
Played
Yeah, I
this game.
believe so. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I remember. I think after the first day playing was after a Webby. It might be episode 13-ish, and Lawrence was generous enough to donate some time. I think after that game, I was like ranked 77,000 or something. So it's reasonable to imagine that perhaps 100,000 people purchased the game and tried at least. During that game, Lawrence highlighted the Rune Scribe as basically a unit that does a ton of damage to a lot of monsters, let's say. So that became a favorite of mine. And then
Yeah,
Lawrence.
because let me talk about this in the lens that we were just discussing. So I'm talking about this idea of gaining control, right? And being aware of sophistication, your own sophistication, your previous sophistication, other people's, just what's going on, right? And gaining control. So in Magic, you have also been multiple times in the top 100 or so in arena rankings, maybe 115 or 125 or whatever, right? And that was going from not having played the game at all, maybe a year before that. So that's all happened. So you had to gain control of yourself, your own body, to understand things about Magic, and then gain control of kind of your apparatus for playing Magic and for adapting these new cards. And in fact, if you were to jump in right now and play Magic, a bunch of Magic, you'd probably be really disoriented and discombobulated with the cups and so forth, which is worth noting. I'm not trying to make you feel intimidated, but just notice.
Yeah, no.
But now you're becoming adapted and accommodated to this new game. And you see how you're kind of like, you just want to be humble, and you're like, okay, I'm gaining control of my body. I'm understanding this. Before, it just wasn't in control. I'm like a child that just might be running around, not knowing what they're doing. They want to go, to the right. They actually go to the left accidentally, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But now you gain more control and so on. So great, present about it.
Yeah. I remember that first game. Asked a bunch of questions. I was like, okay, well, how do I get the rocks, or how do I get the wheat? And it's like, why do I need to build this building or that building? And the difference is stark. Right now we're, let's say, 4 weeks in, and like a lot of those things are now more automatic. Something I used and communicated a little bit was kind of reflecting back on the days. So let's say after, and basically using method, using scenarios and stuff, and trying to live in the game. So something that I would imagine was like, okay, well, day one is ended. We're all in the tavern. Who do I see there? Which units do I see? How many workers do I see? If I talk to one of those workers, and the workers basically, they do stuff like chop wood or get gold, and then that kind of stuff where they, so basically can get us resources. You have donkeys in the game too, where they transport. So the workers, they would get the resources from, let's say they would chop a tree down and they would bring it to the lumber yard, and then the donkey, like a donkey, would bring the resource to the castle. So then, and I did this a bunch of times, maybe 5-6 times or something. I would create a new document and be like, okay, well, this is day one just happened. Who do I see there? How many workers do I see? I gave the workers names. I was like, okay, well, hey, Jim. And sometimes I would kind of like step back out of the game and step back in as a worker. So I was like, oh, well, so really this nice. Morning.
But by the way, let me give a contrast. He could have been instead, why am I not winning this? Why am I not winning that? Oh, dang it. Instead he's trying to, like, he's more immersed in the process, but like, because what we want a crisp creative tension. Don't get me wrong, right? We want a crisp creative tension. We want to be making progress, right? But we don't want a lot of the pitfalls that we associate with gaining progress if we can avoid them. There's some, for example, building a very, very successful business, there are a lot of times when we're going to run into real problems, real emotional problems that people are having, mistakes that they make, deceptions, whatever, just things that go wrong. We were talking about the contracting world. Air conditioning units break. Equipment can be faulty, whatever, right? Things can go wrong. So how do you have something that's kind of anti-fragile and does well with that? How do you accommodate that? How do you accommodate that with your business and your funnel? And by the way, if you have accommodated for all those things, if you do have a nice, healthy, successful business, how well do you make that fact available to your clients? I'm working now doing SEO with some of the biggest brands in the world through what we're doing with OMG, and it's cool. It's different. It's fun. Like there's a lot more to it in a lot of cases with some of these bigger brands. But there's also a lot of great learning opportunities that you wouldn't expect, and it's great all around. And it actually really helps a lot with the more bootstrap businesses that might be in the $3 to $10 million per year range, or trying to elevate things from there. All kinds of different innovative brands are out there. I was recently, somebody showed me a video of someone 3D printing an entire house, right? So all
Wow.
kinds of different things. What was that?
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
And not necessarily efficiently enough to make that great of a business out of it or not, right? I haven't investigated it. When I was in China in 2014, though, I had somebody 3D print me, and I still have that 3D printing. and I so I learned.
Is it life size, Mike?
What's that?
Is it life sized?
Nah, it's about this big. I mean, the bust, it's a bust that's about this big. It's like chest up, but yeah, it looks just like. I mean, it doesn't really have the features, but I mean, yeah, I mean, it looks just like me. I mean,
Very cool.
Hat and everything. So it's pretty cool, right? I mean, it's not like the perfect. It's pretty cool. Everyone saw it was like, wow, that's cool. They did that, and it was an interesting process for me. I wanted to learn. We want to have, because we want this attitude where we are ravenous for, we do want to ultimately progress with getting results and success and so forth, of course, right? But there are things that are, like, the way to do that is to get to the thing that leads to that, directly, the semi-soft lock, right? So this certain type of attitude that that Bryn is displaying. And Bryn, why don't you just go ahead and log in so we can see the rankings? It's fun for me.
You see it now?
Yeah, can, yeah, it's great. It's great. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, and just this idea of us being able to be a nice little situation for multiple games. One of the nice things about combining these light games with something more robust like we have with Magic is we get this opportunity to gain control of ourselves and our kind of our bodies kind of again and again, and get a sense of what we have going on, what we're doing, what's going on in the world, and you don't feel so intimidated by the world because it's not. I don't want you to get to a Zen state and be like, oh yeah, the world's not so intimidating. Now let me just do nothing. I don't mean that, right? I want us to have a very, very purposeful, intense, exciting, kick-ass 2026. I think 2026 is going to be the year that so many people look back and say, wow, that was the year. So many reasons that that's true. And so this is a great tune-up. Me talking about things this way, and it's a great way for me to bring back the lesson, bring us back to what David will be talking about more and more in the future. I started debuting it last week, which is this idea of going all in on getting time on your side. And I was saying with tapering back on Drunith is you want to establish that threat on the board. You want to quickly race out some mana acceleration, but you don't want to overextend in this format. You want to be able to be more keeper type and reactive and punishing people for them trying to rush things in, right? And put yourself in position. That's why I invented and that's how I built Atlantis Shuffle. And a lot of it was, I had a lot of input from theory, for example, like a lot of data from theory, like a shitload, right? That other people just didn't have. I had connection with theory, so I could get that information was more available to me, right? And why do I keep highlighting words like available, right? I'm highlighting words like available for a reason, because they're important, right? Nowadays, it's not so much about having the capacity to do something. It's about the availability of that capacity, right? In football, they say that the number one ability is availability. They'll say that to a guy who's often injured, right? So he's not even available at all. Okay, that's it. Let me give everybody on the show their last shout outs for Christmas. And this will be the second to last show. I don't know if any of you guys are showing up next week, but I'll show up next week. We'll see what happens. We'll start with Smitty and anybody from there. Last words before Christmas.
No, it's so fun to collaborate and just I don't even know the word that I'm looking for right now. Just like go to and fro with such brilliant people that care about things.
Yeah, mastermind.
Care about. So that's all I have to say about that. I'm gonna play some variants of Mike's Merfolk deck, and
Yeah. I'm very keen for your touch on that deck. That'd be great.
yeah, they won't have 16 lands because that breaks my heart.
Well, just do it. Yeah, just do it the way you want. Just test it different ways. See what you come up with. Sounds good to me. I'm very interested in the land that creates forest bound or earthbound land as well. So
No, no,
whatever
no, that should be in the sideboard for this deck for sure, especially against control. The
right. Again, it's gonna have to do with that tempo.
yeah, the earthbound land is definitely something that should be
It
either
doesn't work with multiversal passage, right?
correct. It should be in the sideboard, I think.
Cool.
Maybe with a Cavern of Souls, to have a pair of extra. But yes, the Earthbound 2 land it was in my notes today and I didn't get around to it. I was mostly like slurping on Veteran Survivor, which
Yeah.
I think like Veteran Survivor should be in every white deck.
Well, because it's so disruptive to the decks of the day, right? Like, I mean, to not just to tear up their graveyard the way he does, if they're just going to sit around and watch.
Well, it's just so disruptive. Like when it comes down on turn one, it's just like disruptive versus lessons.
Yeah,
versus,
if you're out of position, if you're not looking to see that, if you're not happy about it, it's like with our deck, you don't really want to block it because there's almost nothing you would really want to block it with, and a lot of times you can't. You know, a lot of times they'll make it so you can't block it.
I definitely block it with an elf. Not
Wow.
all, but sometimes because it's that annoying of a card.
Great to know. That's a great insight, Smitty. That's a great insight. Lawrence.
I always block it with an elf, but sometimes I do.
Beautiful. All right. Merry Christmas, Smitty. Lawrence, final words?
Just more general, looking forward to growing with you guys, getting a better sense of these things. Like it's not just about knowing the concepts, but as you were talking about, kind of like feeling it and getting it more immersed. I think that's a good idea as well. So yeah, excited about what's to come.
Yeah, it's gonna be a real key ability. That's great, Lawrence. Awesome. Theory?
Yeah, cool episode. It was great again. Already number 18, which is pretty insane, right? We're almost half a year in already, I guess, when you think about it. I just realized that earlier. Yeah, looking forward to what's coming, and Merry Christmas, everyone. This is what comments there.
Awesome. Bryn, final words. Leave it
Yeah.
with you.
Merry Christmas, guys. It's been a blast so far this year, and of course every year before that. It's such a blessing to have Mike and David, and then everything that springs from that. For sure, I'm gonna catch the replay with a notebook. There's much to discover and immerse in. So thank you very much, Mike.
Great group. I'm excited. Ryan Gill will be joining the podcast, I think, in 2 weeks. Not this upcoming week, but should be the week after January. So he should spice things up and bring some good energy to it as well. So I'm excited for that. Lots to come. All right, awesome, Bryn. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to all of you guys, and of course to everybody who couldn't be here with us. Tokyo Gary, Konnichiwa. We hope you're having a great Christmas out there with your daughter, and Michael, and of course, both Michaels, Michael Spears and Michael Freeman. Hope you are having a great. Of course, David, who's often on the podcast, Jeremy, is often on as well. And if I missed anybody, my apologies. But another great show, another great event, and we will see you next week for New Year's. And from there, we will race into 2026. And OMG 2026 is going to be hot. It'll be super, super hot. Things could start moving really, really fast. So be on your toes. All right, God bless, guys.
Merry Christmas, y'all.
Hey.